This story happened in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union in February 1959. The expedition began under normal conditions. 9 experienced hikers, most of them students or graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, departed for a winter trek across the northern Urals. They were trained, well-equipped, and familiar with long-distance travel in extreme cold. Their planned route was registered with local authorities, and their expected return date was clearly documented. By February 1st, the group had reached a remote area near Kholat Syakhl, a mountain whose name translates to Dead Mountain. Weather records from nearby stations show falling temperatures, strong winds, and reduced visibility. Despite this, their progress appeared steady. Their last confirmed campsite was set on an exposed slope rather than in the forest below, a choice noted later by investigators but not considered impossible under the circumstances. When the group failed to return on schedule, search operations began on February 25th. Volunteer hikers, military personnel, and local officials were deployed. Aerial reconnaissance and ground teams followed the registered route. On February 26th, searchers found the expedition's tent. It was partially collapsed and still standing on the slope. The most notable detail was immediately recorded in reports. The tent had been cut open from the inside. Boots, coats, food supplies, and equipment were left behind in an orderly arrangement. There were no signs of a struggle inside the tent. Footprints were found leading downhill toward a forest approximately 1.5 kilometers away. The tracks were preserved well enough to show that several members were barefoot or wearing only socks. The footprints did not indicate running or chaotic movement. At the edge of the forest, investigators discovered the remains of a small fire beneath a tree. Nearby lay the bodies of 2 hikers. They were missing most of their clothing and showed signs of prolonged exposure to extreme cold. Branches above the fire pit were broken, suggesting attempts to climb the tree. Further into the forest, 3 more bodies were found between the tree and the tent. Their positions suggested they were moving back toward the campsite. Autopsy reports listed hypothermia as the cause of death, but noted minor injuries inconsistent with a simple fall. The remaining 4 hikers were not located until May, after the snow began to melt. Their bodies were found in a ravine, buried under several meters of snow. Unlike the others, these hikers had severe internal injuries. Medical examiners documented fractured ribs and skull damage. The force required was compared in reports to the impact of a high-speed collision. There were no external wounds sufficient to explain the trauma. One body was missing its tongue. Others had missing eyes. Official records attributed this to natural post-mortem processes and environmental exposure. Clothing from some of the bodies showed traces of radiation, a finding noted in laboratory results without further explanation. The investigation concluded in May 1959. The final report stated that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force that they were unable to overcome. No criminal responsibility was assigned. The case was closed, and many documents were archived or restricted for decades. The area was sealed off to the public for several years following the incident. Those who participated in the search later reported that certain details were never addressed in official briefings, but no formal amendments were made to the conclusion. Today, the physical evidence remains limited to photographs, autopsy reports, weather data, and investigative notes preserved in archives. The tent, the footprints, and the sequence of discoveries are all documented. What remains unresolved is why 9 experienced hikers abandoned shelter in severe conditions, how the injuries occurred without corresponding external damage, and why the official investigation ended without reconstructing a clear chain of events. The case remains formally closed, with its records describing outcomes, but not causes.